Anya fused Petrova cinched the belt of her shimmer-weave kinetic armor. A suit too high-end for her data architect's salary at Apex Helix Corporation, but a necessary expenditure for her cousin Tanya's lavish syndicate gala in Neo-Seattle. Alone at Terminal 19, a digital island from the main dais, she sipped her nutrient synth and fought the sterile ache of isolation that had clung to her since the divorce. Across the holographic floor, her 5-year-old daughter NYM was immersed with the junior comrades, spinning under the remote supervision of Anya's aunt. At least NYM was enjoying this protocol. "You look like you're calculating an exit vector," a low voice transmitted from behind. "I was analyzing the thermal exhaust shaft," Anya murmured, nearly shorting her synth cup as she turned to see Cale Ghost Thorn, her direct superior and the enigmatic CEO of Apex Helix. He was 6'3", with eyes like aged bourbon and a facial structure that screamed hypermedia profile. He was the last person she expected at her cousin's marriage to Marcus. "Mr. Thorne," she stammered, hyper-aware of her flickering AR overlay and the tiny seam tear she'd fused that morning. "What are you doing here?" "Cale, please, we're off-grid," he replied, pointing a subtle digit toward the syndicate leaders. "Marcus and I were in the Dartmouth cyber cohort. I'm surprised our paths haven't crossed at their functions before." Anya felt her optical display warm. Cale Thorne, the 35-year-old CEO and rumored trillionaire tech baron, was part of this high-orbit social circuit. "May I?" he asked, indicating the vacant terminal beside her. She nodded, her focus sharpening. Cale had barely exchanged 10 data packets with her in 3 cycles, despite her station being only 2 levels beneath his. "You are Anya Petrova, correct? Acquisitions and Development Node," he confirmed, settling with casual grace. "You know who I am?" Surprise colored her voice. His smile deepened. "I make it my business to know the architects of our most promising algorithms. The neurologic algorithms you secured last cycle are exceeding metrics by 28%. Anya blinked, momentarily stunned. She'd fought for cycles to greenlight that niche logic chain. "Thank you. I have faith in that data," she said, steadying herself with another sip. "But that doesn't explain why you're at the low-sync terminal with me instead of upgrid with Marcus and the A-listers." Cale's expression flickered. "Maybe I'm fatigued by people who only see the CEO and not the core individual." Before Anya could respond, a minor crisis flared near the dance floor. Enwem was frozen, her commade uniform splattered with a crimson liquid BioWare spill, tears welling in her blue optics as a waiterbot offered frantic apologies. "Excuse me." Anya began moving, but Cale's hand stopped her, producing a security token holographic shard. "Allow me," he said. "I have young nieces. I'm proficient at this." Before she could object, he moved to Enwem. Anya watched, astonished, as the intimidating CEO of Apex Helix knelt to her daughter's level, produced the token from behind her ear in a quick sleight-of-hand illusion, then offered a clean wipe with a conspiratorial wink. Moments later, Enwem was giggling as Cale cleaned the stain. When they returned, Enwem was chattering animatedly about how Mr. Ghost had promised the stain was actually invisible code only the bravest comrades could decode. "Mom, can I rejoin Aunt Claire? We're initiating a sync contest," Enwem asked. "Of course, sweetheart. Just stay off-grid," Anya said. As Enwem skipped away, Anya turned to Kale. Thank you for that. You're unexpectedly good with minors. My sister has clones 7 cycles old and permanently covered in sticky residue. He shrugged. She's remarkable, your daughter. She shares your facial mapping. Thank you. She is my primary directive, Anya said. Her father? He asked, his eyes careful. Not in the sector. 3 cycles gone and counting. Kale nodded, respecting the boundary. A momentary silence fell until he glanced toward the dancers. Would you like to sync protocol? He asked just as Tanya, the bride, appeared, slightly breathless in her fiber-optic gown. Anya, there you are. Tanya's gaze snapped between Anya and Kale. I didn't realize you had a connection. We are colleagues, Anya explained. Anya is one of our most gifted data architects, Kale added, standing to perform a cheek kiss greeting protocol with Tanya. Your cousin has an exceptional instinct for viable algorithms. Tanya's perfectly mapped brows rose, giving Anya an impressed look. Well, you should have flagged this. We have you isolated all the way back here when you should be up-grid with us. Her attention shifted to Kale. And you, sir, are scheduled for the founder's address in 20 minutes. Marcus is searching everywhere for you. Kale grimaced. Duty calls, I'm afraid. As Tanya floated away, Anya felt a spike of disappointment. Save me a sync? Kale asked, his voice lowered. Before she could reply, her comlink buzzed. Anya glanced down, her system flushing cold. What's the status? Kale's question was sharp. It's my nanny drone. Total malfunction. Family emergency protocol. I need to reroute or return Enwem to the apartment, but that's an hour transit, and she's fully engaged here. Kale hesitated, then leaned closer. I have a secured corporate penthouse here in the Spire for after the protocol. You and NYM can use it if you need an overnight anchor. Anya stared at him, analyzing his vectors, but saw only genuine concern. That's highly generous, but I cannot impose. Anya, he interrupted gently. I'm docking with Marcus and some old cohort friends tonight. The penthouse would remain empty otherwise. As she wavered, a photo drone approached their terminal. Let's capture the power couple, the drone's cheerful AI voice announced. Before Anya could correct the mistaken assumption, Kale's hand found hers beneath the terminal. He leaned in, his breath warm against her sensor, whispering words that would instantly recalibrate her entire evening. Designate me your spouse for the evening, just for the wedding. It bypasses the need for explanation, and I've observed the pitying glances your cousin's network transmits when they think you're offline. Anya froze. Her rational core screamed, he is your CEO. This is a severe boundary violation. This can only lead to system failure. But another part, the part that had processed 3 cycles of solitary synth dinners, the pitying looks at school functions, the struggle to be both provider and protector for Enwem, whispered, just once, wouldn't it be stable to pretend? Confirmed, she heard herself say, the response slipping out before she could override it. Just for this cycle. Kale's smile was both triumph and promise as he slipped his arm around her waist, pulling her into the frame for the photo drone. Trust my calculation, he murmured. By morning, no one will be pitying Anya Petrova. What neither could have predicted was how a single night of deception would unravel confidential data. Both had kept deep vaulted for cycles. Anya's evening protocol shifted with alarming speed. Within 1 hour of Cale's whispered proposition, she found herself swept into a dizzying social simulation as his supposed spouse. The deception that began as a shield against pity evolved into a more complex script with every passing minute. Cale executed his role with effortless charm, his hand resting lightly against her back as he guided her through interactions with Neo-Seattle's elite, introducing her as the brilliant data architect who keeps Apex Helix's asset flow optimized. "You're surprisingly effective at this," she transmitted as they sync protocoled on the floor, maintaining a respectable gap despite his hand's warmth against her waist. "At syncing," his eyes crinkled. "At simulating," she countered, searching his face for a glitch in the facade. "Most CEOs I've interfaced with couldn't act their way out of a shielded box." Cale gently rotated her, bringing her a fraction closer. "Who said I am simulating?" The question hung in the air, loaded with implications Anya didn't dare process. She rerouted the conversation. "Your founder's address was high level. I didn't realize your link to Marcus was so close." Something flickered in Cale's expression. An encrypted emotion. "We were once." Time and circumstance have a way of creating latency even between old cohort members. What initiated the break? Success changes the network topology. People generate expectations, or they assume you've been entirely rewritten when you haven't. His voice dropped. "That's why this is a clean handshake. You don't process me as pure currency." Anya gave a soft, synthetic laugh. "That's because I witnessed you dump hot synth coffee all over your own suit when the maglev jerked last holiday cycle." His surprised laugh resonated. "You retained that memory?" Difficult to forget the CEO of Apex Helix transmitting expletives while wearing a novelty fiber optic tie. Cale's smile softened into genuine warmth. "See? That's precisely my point." As the sync protocol ended, Anya spotted NYM yawning by the nutrient station. "I need to initiate NYM's shutdown sequence. It's past her mandatory sleep cycle," she stated. Cale nodded, discreetly passing her a digital keycard. "Penthouse 1217. Take your time. I will manage any inquiries." "Thank you," she transmitted, the words insufficient for the unexpected kindness he'd shown her and NYM. 30 minutes later, after settling an exhausted NYM in one of the penthouse's 2 sleeping pods, Anya stood in the opulent living module of Cale's corporate accommodation, feeling severely out of place. The space was larger than her entire Neo-Seattle apartment, with floor-to-ceiling panoramic windows overlooking the glittering sprawl. She deactivated her heels and walked to the viewport, pressing her palm against the cool glass as she tried to process the bizarre shift in her evening. A soft access code pinged at the door. She opened it to find Cale, his power tie deactivated and hanging loose. "Apologies for the intrusion," he said, remaining in the corridor. "I forgot my jump bag." "Oh, of course," she replied, stepping aside, suddenly conscious of her bare feet and slightly disheveled look. Cale retrieved a leather duffel from the storage unit, then paused, seemingly reluctant to disengage. "NYM's status?" "Deep sleep mode. This space is more high-end than anywhere she's uploaded before." She thinks we're in a princess-class citadel. He smiled, but a guarded element had entered his expression, the easy camaraderie of their sync protocol fading. Kale, what is your true objective in all of this? Anya asked, unable to suppress the question. The simulation, the penthouse. It's a high-value offer, but you're calculating my payoff. He set down his bag, his expression unreadable. Would you believe I was simply executing a kindness protocol? In my experience, high net worth males, particularly those with executive access, do not execute kindness protocols without an underlying function. Something hardened in his eyes. That observation profiles the men you've previously encountered more than it profiles me. Anya crossed her arms. You can't fault me for operating with caution. You're my CEO, Kale. This entire situation is highly compromised. Is that the reason you have rejected every access node upgrade I've authorized for you over the last 2 cycles? Anya stared, genuinely shocked. What are you transmitting? Kale ran a hand through his dark hair. 3 times, Anya. 3 times I approved your elevation to senior architect with a substantial credit increase. And 3 times you declined without engaging with the HR node. She felt the foundation of the penthouse tilt beneath her feet. That is a faulty dataset. I never received any upgrade offers. Kale went completely still. What was that transmission? I have never been offered an upgrade at Apex Helix. Not a single one. The silence between them thickened as the realization dawned simultaneously. Silas Vance, they both stated. Silas Vance, Director of Security, and the man directly above Anya in Apex Helix's hierarchy. A man who had made his professional contempt clear from Cycle 1, who had claimed credit for her successful algorithms more than once, and who happened to be Kale's oldest cohort friend. He transmitted that you were not interested in advancement, Kale said slowly, a muscle twitching in his jaw. That you preferred your current position due to NYM's needs, specifically for the scheduling flexibility. Cold fury built inside Anya. And you accepted his transmission without direct interface with me? He has been at Apex Helix since before my takeover. We have 20 cycles of shared history. Kale's expression darkened. That ends Monday's first sync. His career at Apex Helix is concluded. Kale's voice was flat, brooking no negotiation. I've suspected for a while that Silas has been manipulating data for personal gain, but this crosses a red line. Anya dropped onto the edge of the sofa, overwhelmed. This explains the data corruption, the rerouting of my projects to less capable architects. She looked up at Kale, her professional frustration momentarily overriding the strangeness of their situation. Do you realize he reassigned the neurologic algorithm's maintenance to Brett in data rerouting? Just last week after I developed that architecture for over a cycle? Kale's anger shifted to calculation. Is that the reason you called for an unscheduled sick day last Friday? The first you've taken in 3 cycles. Anya felt heat rise in her cheeks. I required time to process the loss. That algorithm was personal to me. Kale sat beside her, maintaining space. I had no awareness of this breach, but the breach is now closed. For the record, I apologize. I should have executed a more thorough oversight. The sincerity in his voice surprised her. Why do you allocate this degree of importance? She asked. I am one architect among dozens. Cale looked away, his profile sharp against the Neo-Seattle cityscape. Because I began as an architect too, before the executive MBA, before the corporate scaling. I know the value of code, the fight for algorithms you believe in. He turned back to her, his gaze intense. And because I have observed your output from afar, Anya, the datasets you discover, the systems you champion, they are always prime level. The unexpected praise left her speechless. Before she could formulate a response, a small voice transmitted from the sleeping pod doorway. Mommy, I had a bad sync. Nwem stood there in her Disney princess pajamas, clutching her old comms rabbit. Her eyes widened when she spotted Cale. Mr. Ghost, did you schedule an overnight dock too? Anya tensed, but Cale smoothly knelt. No, sweetheart. I just initiated a comfort check. I registered your bat sync. Nwem nodded solemnly. There was a data dragon under the pod. That is a high-level threat, Cale agreed, matching her grave tone. I happen to know that data dragons are severely afraid of brave comrades who possess security tokens. I don't have a token, Nwem whispered. Affirmative, you do. Cale reached into his pocket, producing the holographic shard. Remember this? As Cale patiently taught Nwem the simple illusion, Anya watched with a knot forming in her throat. Her daughter, usually shy around new interfaces, was giggling and attempting to mimic Cale's movements. What surprised Anya most was Cale's patient gentleness, the way he encouraged each attempt with genuine warmth. When Nwem finally mastered the approximation of the trick, her face illuminated with triumphant joy. Now the dragon will be scared of me. Absolutely terrified, Cale confirmed. Want me to initiate a check under the pod just to be certain? After a thorough dragon inspection and 2 more demonstrations of her new magical powers, Nwem allowed Anya to initiate her sleep sequence again. When Anya returned to the living module, Cale was standing by the viewport again, his expression pensive. Thank you for that, she said quietly. You did not have to exhibit that level of kindness toward her. It was not a kindness mandate. I enjoyed the interaction. He turned. She is a remarkable entity. She is, Anya agreed. Her father has never met her. He was offline before I even registered the pregnancy. Cale's expression remained neutral. His loss. I used to process it that way. The truth is, it was likely optimal. Michael wasn't exactly parental asset material. Was he abusive? Cale's question was gentle yet direct. Not physically. Just, she searched for the correct data packet. Selfish, manipulative, convinced his big break as a data pirate was imminent. While I paid all the access fees, she gave a bitter laugh. The irony is he finally achieved that prime-level contract 6 months after exiting the network. I observed his face on an AR billboard in Times Square, New York last cycle. Understanding dawned in Cale's eyes. Zane Wavelength Kane is your ex? Anya nodded, surprised. You know his transmissions? My niece is obsessed with his last Code album. Cale sat beside her. No wonder you operate with caution regarding males with high ambition. The observation was too accurate. Anya rerouted the topic. It's late. You should disengage before the network starts generating gossip. Let them gossip, Cale said, his gaze holding hers. Unless you need me to leave. The question hung between them. For one reckless microcycle, Anya considered asking him to stay. Instead, she rose, creating necessary distance. This has been an unscheduled event, but we must respect our roles come Monday's sync. Cale rose, retrieving his jump bag. At the door he paused. You never answered my question from earlier, about whether I was truly simulating. Before Anya could process, he was gone, leaving her alone with the question that would keep her system cycling long into the night, and the growing suspicion that this masquerade might have awakened feelings neither had pre-programmed. What she couldn't know was that Cale Thorne had confidential data of his own, data that would soon threaten everything they had begun to build. Monday's sync arrived with the harsh clarity of reality. Anya entered Apex Helix's gleaming lobby with NYM's sticky goodbye kiss still warm on her cheek, and her mind processing the weekend's events. She had spent Sunday alternating between analyzing every millisecond with Cale and firmly reminding herself that it had all been an act, a convenient arrangement that was now terminated. The elevator doors cycled open to reveal Silas Vance himself, his perpetually smug expression corrupting at the sight of her. Anya, you recovered from your supposed system illness, I see. She entered, refusing to be intimidated. Good morning, Silas. Yes, thank you for your concern. He snorted. I will require the Mitchell data matrix on my terminal by noon. The marketing node has inquiries. Anya maintained her professional smile, despite the familiar twist of frustration. The Mitchell matrix was another of her discoveries that Silas had appropriated. Of course, though I must transmit that the matrix owner specifically requested my input on the new datasets. Silas's smile tightened. I'm certain you can forward any relevant notes to me. The elevator stopped at the architect level. As Anya moved to exit, Silas added, Oh, and the quarterly review protocol has been accelerated. Thorne wants all department heads in the conference nexus at 10 o'clock. Something in his tone caught her attention. Just department heads? Silas's smile turned unpleasant. Don't stress your pretty little processor with executive operations, Anya. The doors closed on his condescending expression, leaving Anya seething in the hallway. The man had systematically undermined her career for cycles, and she'd let him, partly out of a single mother's fear of rocking the boat, partly because she'd never had proof of his manipulation until Cale's revelation. At precisely 9:57 a.m., Anya's comlink chimed with a text from an unknown signature. Conference Nexus 10 a.m. Do not be late, Jay. Her heart skipped as she stared at the message. How had Cale acquired her personal identifier? More importantly, why was he summoning her to a meeting explicitly for department heads? At 10:01, Anya slipped into the conference nexus where Apex Helix's leadership team was already assembled. Silas's face registered shock, then barely concealed fury. Cale sat at the head of the table, immaculate in a charcoal suit, looking nothing like the relaxed man who had taught her daughter illusions 2 cycles ago. Miss Petrova, thank you for joining us, Cale said, his voice professional, devoid of the warmth she'd grown accustomed to. Please take a seat. She chose the only available terminal directly across from Silas. Before we commence, Cale continued, I would like to announce some organizational topology changes, effective immediately. His gaze swept the room, commanding and unyielding. Silas Vance will be transitioning out of his role as Director of Security. A stunned silence fell. Silas's face drained of color. In the interim, Anya Petrova will assume his responsibilities while we evaluate permanent restructuring options. Anya froze, certain she had misheard. Across the table, Silas half rose from his terminal. This is a gross deviation. On what grounds? On the grounds of deliberately sabotaging corporate operations, withholding access node upgrade opportunities from qualified staff, and falsifying communications to senior management. Cale interrupted, his tone glacial. My office has compiled a detailed audit report, which Internal Affairs will review with you following this meeting. Anya sat motionless as whispers erupted around her. Cale continued the meeting with ruthless efficiency, outlining quarterly projections as if he hadn't just detonated a bomb in her professional life. Throughout the hour, she could feel Silas's venomous glare. When the meeting adjourned, Cale requested she remain. As the room emptied, Silas lingered in the doorway, his expression dark with rage. You will regret this, Thorne, he said quietly. Both of you will. After the door cycled closed, leaving them alone, Anya turned to Cale. What just happened? He loosened his tie, the only hint of stress. Justice, I hope, though perhaps I should have provided a pre-warning. Perhaps. Anya struggled to keep her voice level. You just painted a target on my back in front of the entire executive team. Silas has powerful network connections in this industry. So do I, Cale countered. His expression softened slightly. Anya, you earned this upgrade 3 times over. The output you've generated despite Silas's interference proves you're more than qualified. That's not the critical function. She rubbed her temples. This appears to be favoritism, Cale. People will generate gossip. Let them. Your output will speak for itself. Easy for you to transmit. You are not the single mother who suddenly appears to be sleeping her way up the corporate ladder. The words hung between them, harsh and unretractable. Cale's expression shuddered. Is that your current hypothesis? He asked quietly. Anya sighed, immediately regretting her outburst. No, but it is what the external network will assume. Which is exactly why I mandated Internal Affairs conduct a thorough review of Silas's communications before making any announcements. Cale slid a data folder across the table. Evidence of his systematic suppression of your advancement, documented and dated. This upgrade is based solely on merit, and anyone who suggests otherwise will find themselves in a very uncomfortable conversation with legal. Anya opened the folder, stunned by the comprehensive paper trail compiled in just one cycle. How did you acquire all this so quickly? I've had suspicions about Silas for months. Your situation simply provided the catalyst to investigate thoroughly. This has no link to this weekend, Anya. I give you my word. Something in his earnest expression made her want to believe him. Thank you, she said. But this doesn't resolve the logistical problems. I have a 5-year-old daughter, Cale. The director position requires late-cycle syncs, weekend work, off-grid travel. All negotiable. He leaned forward. Apex Helix needs to modernize its approach to working parents anyway. You can establish the precedent. Before she could respond, Cale's assistant entered. Mr. Thorne, your 11 o'clock is waiting, and Miss Petrova. Internal Affairs requires a sync to discuss transition details. The moment was broken. Anya gathered her items. At the door she paused. For the record, thank you for trusting my capability. Cale's smile was brief but genuine. Prove me correct, Anya. That is all the gratitude I require. The following weeks were a blur as Anya navigated her new role. True to his word, Cale had ensured her position included flexibility for NYM's schedule. Though the workload left her exhausted, she saw little of the CEO directly. Their interactions were limited to formal protocol syncs where he maintained scrupulous professionalism. 3 weeks after her promotion, Anya was working late, reviewing contracts for a major data acquisition, when an access code pinged at her new office door. Cale stood in the threshold, his suit jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up to reveal strong forearms. Still processing data? He asked. NYM's location tonight? Sleep sync with her cousin. Anya set down her input pen, suddenly aware of the late cycle and their solitude on the empty executive floor. I'm optimizing the rare freedom to catch up. He nodded. Have you fueled? The question caught her off guard. I ingested a nutrient bar around 1800 hours. That is not a meal. Come on. He straightened. There's a synth tie node around the corner that operates late. Anya hesitated. Cale, I do not process that as a sound decision. It is simply fuel, Anya. His expression remained neutral. Between colleagues. Against her better judgment, she agreed. 20 minutes later, they sat in a quiet booth, the rich aroma of lemongrass and curry surrounding them. Away from the office, some of the tension eased as they discussed algorithms and industry gossip. You've executed remarkable work these past weeks, Cale said as they finished their meal. The Morrison data deal alone justified your upgrade. Anya smiled, allowing herself to feel pride. It feels efficient to finally have the authority to validate my instincts. Speaking of authority, Cale set down his utensil, his expression serious. There is critical information you require. Silas has been meeting with executives at Paragon Press. Anya's stomach tightened. Paragon was Apex Helix's primary rival. You hypothesize he is leaking data? I confirm it. Cale's voice hardened. Specifically, he is targeting your algorithm developers, attempting to convince them to break contracts and transition to Paragon. He cannot execute that. The non-compete clause in his severance is being flagrantly violated. Affirmative, Cale sighed. Unfortunately, proving it requires catching him in the act, which is proving difficult. Anya pushed her plate away, appetite gone. The neurologic developer called me yesterday, transmitted she'd received a better offer, but wouldn't specify the source. That fits the breach pattern. Cale reached across the table, briefly touching her hand. I regret burdening you with this, but you needed to know the parameters of the opposition. His touch lingered. Anya forced herself to focus on the business threat. What is our strategy? We retaliate. Cale's eyes gleamed with determination. Starting with the Off-Grid QuantumNet Summit, this weekend in the Arizona desert. Anya blinked. That is in 3 cycles. I cannot possibly bring NWM, Kale said simply. The resort has high-level childcare nodes, and this summit is crucial for securing our relationship with key developers. If Silas is executing moves, we must counter them immediately. Kale, I can't just… Anya, his voice softened. I am not requesting this as your CEO now. I am requesting this as an individual who trusts your capability. We require your presence. The way he transmitted, we sent a complicated shiver through her. 3 days in the Arizona desert with Kale, surrounded by developers and industry figures, with NYM in tow. The prospect was both exhilarating and terrifying. I will initiate logistical arrangements, she finally conceded. His answering smile was worth the headache she knew would follow. Friday afternoon found Anya and NYM checking into the Desert View Lodge, an upscale resort nestled among the rugged, red Arizona landscape. The summit's welcoming protocol was already underway. I apologize, Ms. Petrova, but we do not have a reservation under your identifier, the receptionist transmitted. Anya frowned. That is an error. Apex Helix booked a block of rooms. I should be on the manifest with the other architects. The woman checked again, shaking her head. All Apex Helix rooms are assigned, but nothing for Petrova. And I'm afraid we are fully booked this weekend with the summit and a private event. NWM tugged at Anya's armor. Mom, I require fuel. You promised dinner. Anya felt a headache building. Is there any available lodging nearby? Not within 50 kilometers, I regret. High season is our busiest period. What is the status of the problem? Kale's voice came from behind her. Anya turned to find him approaching, looking unfairly sharp in casual attire. Dark jeans and a blue sweater. There has been an error with the booking, she explained. Apparently, I have no accommodation. Kale's brow furrowed. That is impossible. I confirmed the allocations myself yesterday. The receptionist's eyes widened slightly as she recognized the CEO. Mr. Thorne, I assure you we have assigned all rooms requested by your company. Perhaps a miscommunication occurred. A terrible suspicion formed in Anya's mind. Or perhaps it was not an error, she murmured, for Kale's sensors only. Silas still has access to the admin node. Understanding darkened Kale's expression. He turned back to the receptionist. What is the status of my accommodation? I believe I am in the executive sky suite. Affirmative, sir. The presidential class suite with 2 sleeping pods. Kale nodded decisively. Optimal. Miss Petrova and her daughter will be docking there. Please arrange for her luggage to be transferred immediately. Kale, no, Anya protested once the receptionist moved away. We cannot share a suite. It is highly inappropriate. It is a 2-pod suite with a living area larger than my first apartment, he countered. Completely appropriate. Unless you prefer to transit back to Neo-Seattle tonight. NYM, who had been quietly observing, suddenly brightened. Are we having a sleepover with Mr. Ghost? Kale's serious expression melted into a warm smile as he crouched. Hello there, brave comrade. I registered that you might share some new security tokens with me this weekend. As NYM enthusiastically launched into a description of a card trick algorithm she'd learned from a VR tutorial, Anya watched the interaction with growing gratitude and trepidation. Kale had just neatly maneuvered her into an arrangement that would definitely raise eyebrows. What worried her more was how natural it felt, the three of them together like some kind of cohesive unit. "It is settled then," Kale transmitted, straightening up and offering Inwam his hand. "Shall we acquire some fuel for this hungry data magician?" As they walked toward the restaurant, Anya couldn't shake the feeling of surveillance. She glanced back to find a man observing them intently from across the lobby, a man whose face she recognized instantly. Silas Vance had just arrived at the summit, and the look in his eyes promised that her compromised weekend had just become dangerous. "Do not initiate a visual lock, but we have unauthorized company," Anya murmured to Kale as they settled at a corner terminal. She subtly indicated the entrance where Silas Vance stood, scanning the room. Kale's expression hardened. "Let him observe. We have no data to conceal." "Do we?" Anya helped Inwam with her menu, acutely aware of how this scene must appear. The three of them like a family. Before Kale could respond, a tall woman with elegantly streaked gray hair approached. "Kale Thorne, I was beginning to hypothesize you were avoiding the social sync portion of these events," she transmitted. She turned her warm smile to Anya. "And you must be the new director of security I've received so many data packets about, Anya Petrova." "Dr. Alara Vance." Anya nearly dropped her menu. Alara Vance was AI royalty, the best-selling AI ethicist who had put Apex Helix on the map. "Dr. Vance, it is an honor," Anya managed, extending her hand. "Your work on the Bedford protocols inspired my pursuit of data architecture." Alara waved away the formality. "Alara, please. And who is this young entity?" she asked, smiling at Inwam. "I'm Inwam Petrova and I know security tokens," the little girl declared. Alara laughed. "What a fortunate anomaly. I am in desperate need of a security token for my new book. Perhaps you could assist me." As Inwam enthusiastically agreed, Alara looked between Anya and Kale with shrewd, knowing eyes. "You generate a lovely family unit. How refreshing to observe Apex Helix executives who understand the importance of system balance." Throughout the meal, Anya was increasingly impressed by how seamlessly Kale adapted to Inwam's presence. "Your daughter is absolutely delightful," Alara commented as dessert arrived. "And quite taken with your partner, if I may say so." Anya nearly short-circuited. "Oh, Kale isn't. We are colleagues," Kale interrupted smoothly, his eyes meeting Anya's with a silent message. "Though I consider myself fortunate to know both of these remarkable Petrova women." Alara's expression remained skeptical, but she graciously rerouted the subject. By the time they disengaged, she had invited Anya to a private breakfast the following morning to discuss a significant change in her publishing plans. A private sync that would ordinarily have been reserved for Kale. "That was quite a coup," Kale observed as they walked and went back to the suite. "Alara doesn't usually sync so quickly with new executives." Anya felt a flush of professional pride. "She's an incredible interface. I've admired her output for cycles." "She appeared to assume we were linked," Kale said casually. "You were about to override her." Anya glanced at him. "Wasn't that the required protocol? Strategically? Perhaps not." His voice lowered. Silas was observing the entire time. "If Alara Vance transmits that we are a package deal, It significantly strengthens your position. So we are reverting to the simulation. Anya couldn't keep the edge from her voice. Kale stopped walking, turning to face her. Is that your current hypothesis? Simulation. The intensity in his gaze made her heart flutter. Later that night, after NYM had reached deep sleep mode, Anya found herself alone with Kale in the spacious living module. He stood by the viewport, a glass of dark liquid in hand. You never provided a response to my query, he said without turning, about whether you process my actions as simulation. Anya approached cautiously. I have no verifiable data, Kale. One moment you are my CEO. The next you are teaching my daughter security tokens and charming AI royalty on my behalf. He turned to face her, his expression unguarded. Have you considered that all of those functional roles might be equally genuine? Why? The question escaped. Why me? Why us? Kale set down his glass and took a step closer. Because from the instant I observed you isolated at that syndicate gala, something initiated a sequence. Something I was not actively searching for, but cannot now ignore. He ran a hand through his hair, looking less like the CEO. The way you fight for your developers, the way you have raised NYM solo, the way you never requested special privileges despite Silas's sabotage. You are extraordinary, Anya. She shook her head, backing away. This is precisely the system failure I was attempting to prevent. Our professional relationship is compromised enough without introducing personal emotion. Is that the only variable you fear? Professional complications. His voice softened. Or are you afraid of retrusting someone after Zane exited the network, leaving you to manage WM solo? The accurate observation stung. That is not fair. No, it is not. Life rarely adheres to optimal parameters. But hiding from potential assets because we are afraid of system damage, that is a choice. Anya felt her carefully constructed firewalls beginning to crumble. Kale, I have primary directives, and one must remain my highest priority. I cannot risk. Mom. Enwem's sleepy voice transmitted from the doorway. I had another bad sync. The moment fractured as Anya immediately went to her daughter. It's acceptable, sweetheart. Just a dream. The dragon again? Kale asked gently. NYM nodded. He was chasing us. You too, Mr. Ghost. Well, that is unacceptable. Kale approached, kneeling. Remember the security protocol? Dragons cannot tolerate brave magic. As he once again patiently guided Inwem through the simple token trick, Anya watched with a growing ache. It was becoming difficult to maintain her emotional distance. After settling Inwem back in her pod, Anya returned to find Kale preparing a warm beverage. I processed that you might require this, he said, offering her a steaming mug. Chamomile synth. My mother always transmitted it assists with system worry. She accepted it gratefully. Thank you for the interaction with NYM. She is an easy entity to care about. His smile was gentle. Like her mother. Anya sipped her tea, gathering her thoughts. Kale, whatever the structure of this connection between us, it is complicated by a dozen different variables. My upgrade, your position, Silas's vendetta, NYM. I know. He leaned against the counter. But I hypothesize it is worth exploring despite the complications. Unless you transmit no data for me beyond professional respect. The direct question demanded absolute honesty. You know that is a false transmission. The admission hung between them. Cale set down his mug and took a careful step toward her. Anya. A sharp access ping interrupted him. Frowning, Cale moved to answer, checking the peep lens before his expression darkened. He opened the door to reveal a stone-faced security guard. Mr. Thorne, I apologize for the late cycle, but we have a reported situation that requires your immediate sync. Someone has accessed the conference nexus where tomorrow's contract negotiations are set up and appears to have photographed confidential data. Cale instantly shifted to full CEO mode. When? 20 minutes ago. The night manager is reviewing security footage now. Silas, Anya said quietly. Cale nodded grimly. I need to manage this breach. Remain here. Lock the door. I will return as soon as the threat is contained. After he left, Anya was too wired to sleep. Around midnight, she decided to check her work emails on her laptop. Opening it, she discovered a new message from an unfamiliar address with the subject line, "Proof of Thorne's manipulation." Against her better judgment, she clicked it open to find several attached images, clearly taken with a telephoto lens through the restaurant windows. There she was with Cale and NYM, appearing for all the world like a family unit. The accompanying message was brief but chilling. Did he disclose the hack? Ask Thorne about our Dartmouth wager. Ask him how much credit he stands to acquire by getting you into his bed. A friend. Anya stared at the screen, nausea rising. A hack? Could Cale's interest truly be part of some decades-old cohort game? It seemed ludicrous, yet doubt crept in. Her comlink buzzed with a text from Cale. Security issue contained. Silas caught on camera and escorted from premises. We'll explain everything in morning. Sleep well. Anya set the comlink down without responding. By dawn, Anya had made a decision. She woke NYM early, packed their bags, and left a brief note for Cale, explaining they'd return to Neo-Seattle for a family emergency. The drive back gave her time to process. By Monday's sync, Anya had resolved to confront Cale directly. She arrived at the office early, only to find an urgent message requesting her immediate presence at a special board sync. Heart-pounding, she entered the boardroom. Minus Cale. The chief financial officer addressed the somber gathering. For those who have not received the update, Cale Thorne was involved in a serious skycap crash returning from the Arizona summit early yesterday morning. He is currently in intensive care at Manhattan Memorial. The room spun as details filtered through her shock. The next 3 cycles were a blur. She'd never even given Cale a chance to explain. On Thursday afternoon, her assistant announced an unexpected visitor. Miss Petrova, there's a Commander Thorne here to see you. She transmits she is Cale's sister. Anya looked up to find a woman with Cale's same dark hair and bourbon-colored eyes. Commander Lena Thorne, the woman introduced herself. My brother regained consciousness this morning and has been requesting a sync with you, quite insistently. Relief flooded through Anya. He's awake. The doctors predict a full recovery. Apparently, my brother is too stubborn to die before resolving whatever high-level breach exists between you two. Lena's assessing gaze reminded Anya of being analyzed under a microscope. He mentioned a data corruption involving Silas Vance and an old college hack. Anya's stomach dropped. So it is verified. Lena's expression softened slightly. I believe you require the full dataset from Cale himself. My vehicle is secured downstairs if you wish to transit to the hospital. 45 minutes later, Anya stood hesitantly in the doorway of a private hospital room. Cale looked pale, a bandage covering his forehead, his arm in a cast. Anya. Her name on his lips was a plea. You came. She approached the bed cautiously. Your sister is highly persuasive. Commander Thorne has that effect. A ghost of his usual smile appeared. Though typically she is preventing people from interfacing with me. Cale, about the email, the hack? He closed his eyes briefly. Silas's final attempt to introduce a wedge. Clever of him to utilize a partial truth rather than a complete fabrication. Anya tensed. So there was a hack. 20 cycles ago in college, Cale shifted. Marcus and Silas and I executed ridiculous wagers about everything. One night, highly intoxicated, we initiated a hack to see which of us would be the first to establish a relationship with a woman from every access level of the university data vault. Juvenile objectifying. But it terminated there, Anya. I never formalized the win, and it has zero functional link to you. Then why would Silas? Because he knew it would possess enough plausibility to make you execute a doubt protocol. Cale reached for her hand with his uninjured one. Anya, I have spent the past 3 cycles observing you fight for the algorithms you trust, observing your integrity and talent. Falling in, he paused. Developing feelings for you that have no link to ancient history, and everything to do with who you are. The sincerity in his eyes made her want to trust him. 3 cycles, but you barely initiated a sync with me before the gala. Because you reported to Silas, and because I was attempting to maintain professional firewalls. The gala simply provided an excuse to finally interface with you. To see if there might be something worth exploring between us. Anya found herself at a crossroads. I need you to process something, she said finally. Nwem is not just a part of my life. She is my life. Anyone I allow close must accept that reality. Anya. Cale's expression softened. I adore Nwem. Her security tokens, her dragon fears, her endless questions. She is extraordinary, just like her mother. And the professional complications. I will not sacrifice the career I have worked so hard to build. Even for me. Cale smiled fully now. I wouldn't expect you to. In fact, I'd be disappointed if you did. We will address the professional boundaries. A ping at the door preceded Lena's return. Sorry to interrupt, but there's someone highly insistent about seeing Cale. She stepped aside to reveal Nwem, clutching her comms rabbit. I transmitted that you were damaged, Anya explained, surprised. She insisted on creating a get-well data packet. Cale's face illuminated as Nwem approached the bed. Mr. Ghost, is the damage severe? Less severe now that you are here, he said gently. I registered that you brought me something special. Nwem solemnly presented a handmade data card. It's a security token, she whispered, to make the dragons remain distant while you sleep. As Cale examined the card, Anya felt the last of her resistance melting away. 6 cycles later, Anya stood on the roof terrace of Cale's secured facility in San Francisco, California, watching as he chased a laughing NYM across the simulated beach below. She twisted the engagement nanoring that had appeared on her finger. Dr. Alara Vance approached, synth flutes in hand. "Congratulations again, my dear. Though I must state, I predicted this from that first dinner at the summit." Anya smiled. "Was it that obvious?" "To anyone with sensors for a prime-level connection," Alara confirmed. Below, Cale had scooped Inwam onto his shoulders. "He is stable with her," Alara observed. "That is a rarity. An individual who genuinely processes a child as a gift asset rather than a complication." "We are still optimizing the balance," Anya admitted. "Life is never perfectly balanced, dear." Alara patted her hand. "But love makes the system wobbling worthwhile." Cale and NYM made their way back up the beach. Seeing Anya, NYM broke into a run. "Mom, Cale taught me how to locate sea glass tokens. We are initiating a collection." Cale followed, his eyes finding Anya's with a warmth that still made her heart skip. "She is a natural treasure hunter," he said, wrapping an arm around Anya's waist. "Just like her mother, finding value where others do not execute a search protocol." Later that night, Anya and Cale stood on the moonlit terrace. "Any system regrets?" he asked softly. "Just one," she said, looking up at him. "That we didn't execute our spouse simulation more thoroughly before making it an official protocol." Cale laughed. "I hypothesize we have a lifetime to perfect that particular performance." As his lips found hers, Anya silently thanked whatever anomaly had placed her at that terminal, isolated, but not for long. Sometimes the most unexpected system initiations led to the happiest final data outputs, especially when a little security token magic was involved.